Hey lovelies, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Let's delve right in. How to pick the right coach, therapist, mentor, healer for you. It's like just thinking about it is exhausting because it can be such a window shopping, it can be so energy draining, it can be so disappointing till you actually find the right alignment. And as someone who has spent over 6 figures in her healing journey, I hope that this video serves the purpose, making the process slightly less painful and more practical and faster for you to find the right match for you. Now, I really don't like the word guru because I feel that in today's time, in today's Kali Yuga, there's so much patriarchal BS which has come into somebody being a guru and people just following somebody's commands and orders with their eyes closed without using my favorite word, discernment. And I think that it's lost the beauty and the respect that the word carried from the olden times of what it actually meant to be a guru, and did not really fill this narcissistic egoic need of people to be up on a pedestal. And I think it's lost that. So that's why I am not using that, because I think the word guru in today's time can carry a lot of shadow aspects to it. So as someone with Guru Chandal Yoga, for my astrology junkies here, what is Guru Chandal Yoga? So in Vedic astrology, if you have your Rahu, which is North Node, conjunct Jupiter, which is Guru, that aspect is called a Guru Chandal Yoga. And Chandal in olden time was basically somebody who was an outcast. It could be an outcast can be so subjective and broad because it really depends on the generation and era that one is in. Back in the time, if you belong to the LGBTQ community, unfortunately, that could have been put in this category. Somebody who had addiction issues, and they could have been put in this category. Somebody who was the black sheep or didn't want to follow the rules and regulations, and a full-blown maybe sociopath, psychopath could also be in this. So I think the word is really broad. I don't think in itself it makes someone or something necessarily bad, but there's a certain amount of tabooness or being an outsider to the norm attached with this. And when I was in my teens and early 20s, I came across a lot of people who I probably attracted because of this presence in my chart. Boy, were there some crazies. And I actually very much had this issue myself of suffering from low self-esteem, and then putting somebody on a pedestal and thinking that, oh my god, they're just like, wow, they're a gold medalist, they're just like amazing, and putting somebody to up there, and then later it would come to bite me in the back. So I have definitely had my own journey and personal learning with this, and I think that's what has really helped me discern and make better choices when it comes to finding right mentors, or actually on the contrary saying no to people who I feel like are not in energetic alignment. Practicing boundaries with, that was also another really important lesson that I learned. And also not giving away your inner authority to somebody you have trusted to help you develop, grow, and heal. Okay, so number one, I want to say that I hate to bring gender in this, but I think it is important and pertinent, and I'm not the judge of that. You can apply this and see and let me know what you feel about this. But I do think that there are certain things, being a female, only a female coach can relate with, or female coach therapist, this thing, because it can be the nicest, kindest man out there. However, he's never had menstruation and a menstrual cycle, so he doesn't quite know cycles and changes in your menstrual system, right, throughout your cycle. So unfortunately, it's very, very different from having lived experience versus somebody having studied 100 textbooks on it, right? Like what you haven't overcome yourself, you can't help your client to overcome. Secondly, I would want to say that, first and foremost, healing cannot take place if you do not feel safe, okay? You cannot heal in the same environment where you were traumatized, essentially. You cannot even start that journey no matter how much breath work, meditation, supplements, plant medicine, or whatever that you do, if the environment that you live, sleep, breathe in is not safe, and you do not energetically and your nervous system does not feel safe around this person, healing can't happen. That is the baseline, that is the foundation. And I understand that it can take time to develop trust and also have safety, but trust your intuition in this. I think, sometimes your initial gut about something is right, and then sometimes when you're really discombobulated, you can have that disconnection with your inner guidance and not know, and then find out like 4 sessions later that, actually I was being a good girl, or I was like, ignoring my intuition, and this is not for me and I'm feeling unsafe. So safety would definitely be point number 2. Thirdly, in my personal experience, I think it was really important to even have somebody from the same culture, because when I moved to America, I do think that when you've grown up in a certain environment and culture and family system, it can really, really impact what your culture thinks and consider shameful or not, because a lot of healing and one of the main symptoms of complex PTSD is toxic shame. So I personally found working with somebody from my culture very helpful, because in fact, like, she couldn't even speak like Hindi, like she couldn't even speak like our Indian language, and because she was like 3rd, 4th generation, but she got it, like, she got the Indian context or the brown context of when I would say something like, I can't actually do that, versus if you're a different ethnicity, I'm not sure if I would have had to work a little harder to explain it to them, and they could. This is not anybody's fault. This is not a lacking of their emotional capacity. It's just, somebody just gets it. That point was for me important. Again, I think sometimes it's difficult and options can be limited, and I totally understand, therapy, especially abroad, can be very, very expensive, and then you have, let's not even go into the insurance part of this, because that's a whole separate video. It's hard, especially in the start when you want to work with people. You may not find one-to-one, or you may not be able to afford one-to-one. And again, coming back to my intention of filming this video, is that as someone who had the privilege or the resources to spend on my healing journey, I really hope that this helps you and shortens that and saves you money and time and effort and energy, which are all important currencies, and which you are running short of during those dark night of the soul phases. So if you can, again, I understand context and personal situation and the subjectivity of everybody's individual experience and situation. If you can, initially, I would suggest definitely diving in with one-to-one, because when you have this, what trauma does is, trauma creates fear, right? What does fear create? Mistrust. How does that show up the most in human beings? In relationships, interpersonal relationships. So starting off with the safety of establishing a long-term one-to-one safe coach, therapist, healer, mentor can be really, really important, because I myself, being introverted, it took a long time for my mentor to tell me to actually do our sessions or a workshop sitting with other people, even though it was like sometimes just a total of 3, 4, 5 of us. Yeah, I think there's a time and a place for the group, and I think groups can be incredibly powerful, where it can be validating that I'm not the only one with this experience, and there are other people who relate, and the common shared humanity behind it. A sense of community and connection, which is really important, especially when you feel like you're the odd one out in your family, or like, your immediate circumstances, you can't relate to that, but then you find a group of like-minded people who've been through similar traumas with you, and they get it when you say that, this makes me feel a certain way. So I do think that there is a time and a place for both. Be the good discerner of that. The 4th point, I would say that if you actually get to the root of what the word shaman means, actually means demon eater or poison drinker. So a shaman is supposed to always drink a poison themselves before they find the right quantity and experiment with that, and kind of like homeopathy, where they use like very small amount of toxins or botulinum toxin to then act as a little bit of poison as medicine, that kind of this thing. So you can only know what proportion of that tincture is helpful practically by embodying that experience. Fortunately, books are great, and I am a big nerd myself, but nothing beats practical lived experience. So having somebody gone through, healer or a mentor, go through what you have been through, And the coaches and healers and this thing, while they're promoting themselves on social media, they usually talk about their personal stories, and which I think is nice because it's a step in like global vulnerability and not seeing that as a weakness. So I think you can maybe catch glimpses of it through people's even master classes. So I think that can be a good commonality point of, oh wow, like I was in such a similar situation where I was like thrown out of a similar job, and now this person is on the other side and they're thriving, doing what they love and making a living out of it. Okay, coming to my next point, social media. When I started working with my mentor, she had like, I don't know, 120 or 130 followers on Instagram. Do not make these superficial number games the judge. Just like you may have gone to Harvard, but that necessarily doesn't really make you a better human being than other people. So don't fool yourself with the number game. Social media can sometimes put up an illusion. So much out there and so much information and so much consumption. I think quality gets lost in the sauce. So don't fall into the I'll help you manifest 1 million because like I manifested 1 million. I think money is great. Don't go, and on the other shadow side, please don't go with somebody who is on the spiritual bypassing, where like it's just all love and light and humanitarianism and money doesn't important. No, money is very important. What I'm saying is like the selling point can't be that they made 1 million, so that's why I should go to them because then they'll help me make 1 million. So just get better at not going by these superficial numbers for this thing. Really tap into the energy. Somebody with 1 million followers may be less able to help you than somebody with 1,000 followers, and maybe the one with 1 million is serving a different purpose, right? Like their purpose may be visibility related or like making people more aware of a certain modality. So I think everybody has a purpose and a part of the journey. Maybe this one is a no-brainer, but I think somebody who is too radical on either extreme, somebody who is very deep down into spirituality and totally bypassing the science, and somebody who's totally like scientific and like fact-based and number-based, calling spirituality woo-woo. I think both extremes can be sort of a red flag. Try to find somebody who is a good balance between both and can see the cons and pros of each. That would be my advice, because I like to give this example. If you're suffering from passive SI, right, and you're like, I don't want to be here, and you're having like severe clinical depression, you cannot be going to a Reiki master, okay, and like doing energy healing. Like, no, you need to seek medical attention and care. And I think I've seen this where I think the doctor part of me comes online, where I'm like, I'll see these spiritual people trying to give like, I won't say that they give medical advice, but it's more the total like lack of awareness of, oh, this might actually be like very neurotransmitter or chemical related. So watch out for both. Find someone with a healthy balance. Like my ex-mentor was actually a pharmacist. So, and now she's like super spiritual. So I trust her because she's seen both sides of the story. If it's not practical and not getting me material results, like forget about it. Right? With therapists, definitely go for somebody who has some kind of training in somatic experiencing, in somatic work, nervous system awareness or healing, IFS, internal family systems, because healing doesn't happen at the mind level. Intellectualization, which we all are guilty of, which keeps us in the loop of the mind, disconnected from the body and the gut and the heart and the soul. Do not just rely on talk therapy. I do think that it can serve a certain purpose at certain time, but then if you have limited time and then you got to choose like which is gonna give you faster results, definitely go with something body-based or somatic healing, because it's very important for even integration when you're healing, for your nervous system to develop a bigger window of tolerance. Again, nervous system work is not for always being in a ventral vagal calm, regulated Zen state. No, it's actually the ability to tolerate discomfort and the spectrum of emotions better. It's the ability to tolerate dysregulation even better. It's stretching your capacity and your window of tolerance. So that is what actually the purpose and the intention of nervous system healing work should be. So definitely go with somebody who is informed somatically. There's so many practices out there now. The feeling of how are you feeling doesn't come from here. It comes from you asking and really taking an inward pause and seeing like, how am I feeling? So yeah, those were some of my points that I really wanted to mention in finding the right healer, therapist, mentor, coach, blah, 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 blah. Whatever is, yeah, be careful out there and use your discernment. Yeah. And yeah, let me know about your stories of if you've had any experiences of like finding the right person and how that journey was. I'd like to hear about that, and I think other people can also benefit from that, because I think there can be a lot of, unfortunately, conning in the healing industry. Same with astrology, right? It's a bad rep. Every great astrologer, there are like 5 terrible ones out there. Like I hate to say this, but it is true. So I hope that this video helps you save your time, energy, money, resources. I am sending you so much love, support on your healing journey, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.